So we are here today with Jonathon Lively. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're working on at the moment.
Sure. So, again, Jonathon Lively. What I'm working on right now is books 2 and 3 to the first book I just just published. First one being The Last Soul, and the next two I decided I wanted to do some sort of rapid release situation. So I'm trying to write both books in succession and then hopefully have only like a 6-month lead time between the two. That's the idea.
I presume you're not writing them at the same time.
Well, no, I'm essentially writing them in one writing one very long book that I will find the appropriate spot, the split in the middle. Because that's, and then I guess realistically, I'm also writing 2 other short stories, which are like backstories for characters that you have met versus will meet. I don't know if I'm going to include them as like little excerpts or interludes in there, or if I'm going to make that as side stories I release separately as little novellas. I don't know what I'm doing with it yet, but I am working on it.
Yeah, that sounds fun. So
ambitious, at least.
Yeah, but still, I mean, what's life if you're not trying a little too hard?
Yeah, I would agree with that statement. So I didn't give you anything about me though. So let's see. I was born and raised in California. And I'm currently living in Minnesota, northern Minnesota. We just got hit with a big old snowstorm, so I spent my day off Sunday shoveling and plowing and snow blowing for like 5-6 hours.
Yep.
And then I'm building a house right now with my wife. We're up here. We've got a little girl named Hazel, and then we've got a little boy on the way. We just found out that he is a boy, in fact, just a week ago or so. And I'm currently working as a bartender, supervisor, front of house manager, whatever you want to look at it, for a bar restaurant here in Bemidji. And yeah, I'm just sort of plugging away. We got a dog, we got 2 cats, living the old American dream with the little girl and soon to be a little boy and our little pets. So it's going good.
Yeah, sounds like fun. Although from California to Minnesota, little bit of a weather difference there.
Slight difference, that's for sure. But I'll tell you what, the only thing I really miss about California is the weather. Everything else that was there was definitely people I missed, that's for sure. But as far as being there, I would say that I don't miss a lot of the other stuff.
I understand that one. Last time I was there, the state was on fire. Again?
Yeah, that's pretty regular.
Yeah, not my favorite. But it's an interesting spot. So your series, just tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So the series is the Arenia Codex. And one of the things that I wanted to do with my book is, even though I do, of course, want to write other things besides just this book and this story, I spent a significant amount of time building the background of kind of the universe that this world lives in. So that way all my stories can be interconnected and have some pieces that you can, find for Easter eggs or what have you, while also being able to tell very different stories. So to sort of sum it up, what you end up finding out is that my story is about the afterlife and where you go when you pass on. And the universe I've created is, how do I say this without giving too much away? Essentially, there's, if you think about like how reincarnation sort of works with like karma and such, you just kind of, depending on how you lived your life, you get born again after you die into a different situation, different environment. Basically, the general oversimplification is, if you lived a good life, you get born again in a better situation. If you lived a bad life, then it's worse, right? So essentially the same idea applies, except instead of being good or bad, it's about purposeful. If you were living purposeful to your soul and how your soul is aligned, then you essentially move up. And once you have met your soul's purpose, you end up on this world, Arenia, which is essentially the highest level of the third dimension. And that is what I'm, that world and all the worlds that connect to it.
So theoretically, if you've got someone whose sole purpose is to go and harvest, human organs, then they could move up, even though it's not technically a good thing. Weird.
Absolutely. That's how I include essentially protagonists and bad guys into what is essentially the heaven of my world.
Awesome. That's fantastic.
Yep. So one of the guys in the first book, he uses fire, and fire is obviously overplayed in so many different things. So I wanted to do something slightly different with him. And you have to read the book to find out what I've done there. However,
Okay. I can do that.
one of the things that he says that I really liked and that I wanted to include in the story was he was talking to my main character, Lathan, and he was wondering sort of about the good and evil of certain things. And he looks at him and he goes, I use fire. How would you see fire being used as a good thing? How do you see that being a good thing? And Lathan doesn't have much of an answer for him. And he's like, realistically, for all you know, I could have been an arsonist in my previous life, and I'm just helping you now to further my own ends. So don't judge is pretty much what he's getting at. And it was put a little bit more eloquently than that, but even so, that's essentially the idea. And it also leads you to make your natural connections with certain elements as being good or evil, and generally probably being right, but also in some other cases being surprised, because if you end up in an enlightened world, regardless of how you got there, it can't help but rub off on you. That's the idea, right?
So can you move backwards in this whole system?
Once you've gone to Arenia, the idea is that no, you end up on this world, and then there are ways you can die there, but it's not the death that is the same anywhere else.
Right.
And I'll be honest with you, I'm still working out the specific mechanics of how that works. It sounded great until I tried to describe it. So I took a little shortcut on that in the first book, and I have put in a lot of work into researching how I exactly want that to work. But realistically, though, if you die there, your energy, your soul, your purposeful being stays there. And it becomes the foundation, the bedrock of the world.
Oh, interesting. Huh. Okay, that one I'm thinking that's really cool, but I have no idea how that would actually work. So I understand the need for research.
Right, yeah, exactly. So my answer so far, which I cannot say because it's way too far in the series to reveal that, but my answer so far is not what I expected it to be based on what I was kind of looking into. However, answered so many plot holes that it's kind of hard to ignore. And so my story may end up being much darker than I originally intended, but I'm okay with that because have a happy ending.
Well, I mean, in my experience, my stories never end up lighter than I intended. It's always the other direction. So I understand that completely. So as far as the research goes, how much of it is based in mythology from Earth?
Most of it, I would say.
Okay.
I have created some things that are, I'd like to say unique, but I mean, let's be honest, how many things are truly unique anymore, right? So I have created a lot of things that I feel are unique and were my ideas. And then I have included them with inspiration to other existing, mythologies and such. Because of how I'm kind of doing this whole thing with the worlds and how they all kind of go to this Arenia place and whatnot, it reminds me of like the South Park episode. And I don't watch a lot of South Park, but there is an episode I did watch where everyone's in hell and this guy stands up and he goes, wait a minute, before we start this tour, this orientation or whatever, who was right? And that was kind of the joke that played in my mind of who is right, And so I make another little comment somewhere in the first book where I say that no one was really right. Some people had a piece of the puzzle, but no one had the whole picture. Right. They all had just a snippet and just lived according to the way they thought they should live. And realistically, that's the answer. Living according to what you instinctually feel you should be living towards. And so with that, I try to very generously take inspiration from major religions and major mythologies and not just from one or two. So I've got 12 different sort of deities that play out on this world of Arenia. And these 12, each one is specifically based on a different religion. And I did that on purpose so that way I can make sure that there was divisions and I wasn't overly focusing on any one over another, and I would force myself to blend them and to find the best of them, the best parts of them, and the worst parts of them.
Okay, that sounds really cool and also very difficult.
Yeah, it is, but I'm hoping it's worth it. I didn't want to have a very surface level story. I wanted there to be a lot to reach into. One of my favorite parts of reading and getting into different stories and books that I've read is finding your sort of fandoms, your little niche where you fit there. The perfect easy example is like Harry Potter and the houses. Everyone, you Gryffindor, you Ravenclaw, you Slytherin or Hufflepuff, and how people kind of group themselves. I want that to happen one day with my books. I want one day them to be, I call my 12 different deities, they're pillars. They're essentially the pillars that hold up the universe. And so I want people to be like, you're the second pillar, the third, or whatever I'm going to end up calling them all, because I'll have names for them eventually.
Sure.
I want that conversation to happen within the fandom, because that creates discussion. It creates kind of theory building. It creates people looking forward and thinking, what happens next? Why did they go this route? Why did he tell it this way? And that's what I want people to do. This conversation not only sparks more creativity and inspiration, but it builds a fan base that wants to see more from me. And ideally, the goal here is to be doing this full time.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So you said that this world, this universe, will exist with multiple different stories. Do you have other stories planned or in the works?
Yeah, absolutely. So most characters you meet are going to be from one of 4 worlds. Even though I've got all these worlds to pick from in the universe, essentially these 4 worlds are kind of like the 4 that are just beneath my Arenia place where everyone ascends to.
Sure.
So the ones that are close to what's most likely to have a soul ascend to that level. And so that narrowed my choices a little bit, because I know making literally infinite choices was going to be impossible to create a new world for every new character.
A little bit.
Yeah, too tough. So I have 4 worlds that I'm building, and each of them have distinct differences and some similarities. And really the biggest struggle for me on all of them is, on one hand, it would be really easy to make everyone humanoid, but I feel it's like a cop-out to me. So the biggest struggle for me is making societies that have creatures, humans, living beings, whatever they are, that don't always look or behave like a human does, and making them make sense. That's my biggest struggle, because in the first book, the main baddie you sort of meet at the end, he's almost like a robot character. And so I have a world where it's going to be to the extreme technologically advanced. And so he's essentially like almost like a cyborg. He's like a mind that's been implanted into a biological metal body. And that is what he ascended, because that's how he views himself. So, and then in other worlds, you're going to have like straight up beasts. You're going to have like a monster, because they are primitive and everything goes based on like wars and tribes. So I didn't want to just stick to just the human element, which makes things a little bit difficult when it comes to how they communicate, of course. So
that's my favorite part.
Yes. How do they talk to each other?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So
it's
that's fantastic. How much planning do you put into this world building? I imagine you've got like a bunch of different notebooks describing everything, or is it all in your head? Because that would be impressive.
On my head. I learned that mistake early on. There was a lot of ideas that I was like, yeah, I'll remember that because it's so important. Of course I'll remember it. And then you don't. And you kick yourself later for it. So no, I've got an ever-filling notepad in my phone where if an idea strikes me, I just take 30 seconds and I write it down. And then it's connected to, I save everything, virtually on clouds and stuff. So it's connected to all that. So when I actually find time to sit on my laptop and do some typing or outlining or whatever I'm doing that specific day, I'll just copy it all into another document, which is kind of I literally titled it my mind dump, and I just literally just copy everything into it, and then I extrapolate it from there. It's just essentially my document that holds all the raw ideas before they're formulated. And then from there, I've got 3 main documents. I've got the outline of the whole story, I've got my character document, and then I've got the outline of the very near outline. Essentially, like, what am I specifically working on right now that's not the whole story. So essentially 2 outlines, and then I've got a document. And in my character document, I include, of course, like abilities and personality types and the way they look and the way they behave, but also I include snippets and highlights of the story where I want them to go in there, just bullet points of this is where they're going to meet this person in this situation, this is how they're going to meet this person, here's the timeline here. And all in all, with all those outlines combined, it's easily like 120 pages of Word documents.
Okay, wow.
So it's a lot. It's a lot, but
wow,
it's good because at least the ideas are there and I can expand on them. My original series here, I plan on it being about 5 books.
Mm-hmm.
It may go more, but a lot of the ideas too, those personalities, those imprints, what I do going forward and for side stories, it's also their backstory. So it's other side stories that don't relate specifically. It's about the world they came from. And so, that's another thing too, that it's not just all relating to this one series. These characters are going to fluctuate between stories, so it's other ideas into other stories as well.
Interesting. Okay, that's quite the impressive collection of ideas. I'm going to move a little bit sideways. For the actual writing process from conception to money in the bank, what's your least favorite part? Because everyone
marketing.
Marketing?
Yeah, easily. I went into this process with the idea that I was going to be taken on by someone right away, and through no fault of their own, that just didn't work out. And that's when I've realized that's just life, so I've definitely moved on from that. But it sucked at the timing because I didn't really find out that it wasn't going to work out that way until I had pretty much finished the book and all the editing process. So I had done zero marketing, zero anything, because I was under the impression that essentially someone else was going to take that on and I only had to focus on writing. And so I've only been learning it as I've been going since I've published. So I published in August, and I have essentially everything I've learned about marketing has happened since like the end of July, early August, so not very long. And during that time, we're also building a house. You've got holidays and this and that. So it's not spending 40 hours a week on this. It's whenever I find time.
Right.
So there wasn't a lot of time into doing a lot of that. So that's my biggest regret, is not putting more effort into that side of it. And it's also my least favorite part right now because it's the part that I feel the most frustrated with because I know the least of it and it's that important.
Yeah. Well, is there something that you found that seems to work better than other things? Because there are many, many, many marketing strategies out there.
I can't say I have found any one thing specifically that works on more than anything else, but that is due in major part to myself. I have taken a big break from all that during the holiday seasons.
Yes.
And there's a lot of time frames when it comes. If anyone's ever built a home, they know that sometimes it's just crunch time and you have to drop everything and get it done. So I told myself up until I thought, I was getting published essentially, that I would, once August hit and I published the book, I would take a break. I would publish it, and then I would take a break, and I would do the other things that I needed to focus on. But I also thought during that time I would have someone pushing the book for me. And now that hasn't happened, I still held my word to my family to take that break and do these things, but also the book has taken a back burner. So probably the thing, though, that I've tried that has worked the best is I've done some giveaway stuff through BookFunnel. I've joined some in there, and then when they do some of their giveaways to their groups, and I, obviously push their stuff through people that have followed me too. That has worked well. I've gotten lots of downloads from that, and that has made me happy. I know some people only ever sell like 10 copies of their book, and then that's the end of their book writing. So I'm happy I'm not that person. I'm at like, just over like 150 sold right now after realistically that's nothing. So I'm pretty happy about that. But yeah, I'm just excited to get to a point where I can really hone in and focus on this on a daily basis.
And plans for your next 2, you said you wanted to do closer, rapid release sort of a thing. Is that going to mess up your marketing strategy?
I don't know, because my marketing strategy is pretty innocuous right now.
I understand that one.
I joined a Facebook group called 20 Books to 50K.
Oh, yeah.
And it's been super helpful. I don't get a chance to be in there as often as I'd like. However, I did skim a lot of highlights for things that people are doing and finding success with. And one of those things was rapid release, and that stuck out at me as being something that would be helpful. Of course, having an actual base to send that out to first helps, but it just seemed like something that made sense for what I want to do in the future.
Right.
So that was why I started with that. And since I don't have a time at this very moment to put in like the daily effort on the marketing side, I still write whenever chance. And so I figured that's an easy thing I can do without learning a whole lot of new stuff. I can just plan to write X amount more, shove in more right during this certain amount of time. And then from there, I can, hopefully have other base set up by the time it's all done, that the rapid release makes more sense. So it's just a baby step, hopefully moving in the right direction.
Yeah. No, I've been in the 20 books to 50K group, and there are many people there who are doing much better than I am, and it's fascinating to see what they're doing.
Yeah.
But then marketing is a little bit terrifying.
It is. It's scary. And, it takes money to do it. And that's another thing, too, with the holidays and building the house and whatnot. Everything takes money. And realistically, I to take all the sales from my book and funnel that right back into marketing, which I do. But, after only having 150 books sold since August, that's not exactly a ton of money. So it's just a matter of budgeting, too, and making, talking with my wife and making sure that, hey, can I spend some money on this? Does this make sense right now, or should I wait? So it's just being a normal adult and trying to have a side hustle and trying to homeless while doing so.
It's a little bit difficult. Okay, so this has nothing to do with writing, but I'm really curious. How is the building of the house going?
It's going okay. There are definitely hang-ups for sure. Right now, we are fully insulated, which is nice, especially in the winters out here.
It's winter. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We're waiting on the drywall right now. And then after the drywall is up, we're pretty happy because at that point, we can really sort of just take it from there. A lot of the subcontractor work at that point is pretty much out of the way. Right. Then at that point, it's really on us to just get things done and using family and friends to, get some other stuff accomplished. But really, that's what we're waiting for, is the drywall to be done. We have done most of the house ourselves. It's mostly just a combined effort of myself, my wife, her family, and then a contractor friend who is our contractor, but also a family friend.
Sure.
So it's been mostly us doing everything, but there's some things you just have to subcontract out. There's some things I just don't know how to do. I'm not certified to do.
Right.
And once the drywall is hung, most of that is pretty much done. And so then we're not really waiting on anyone else or scheduled for anything else. We can just do things at our own pace.
Sure.
And if we really wanted to, we could finish out like a portion of the house quick, move in, live in it, and work on it if we want to go that route or something. But it'll put us at a good turning point, and that's really what we're excited for.
Yeah. Well, I figure if you can build a house from the ground up, then you can probably get your book career to be doing all right. Just hard work and persistence.
Opinion, right? I have the same opinion, so hopefully it works out that way.
Yeah. Wow. What fun. Okay, so what is the? Well, no, wait. I just asked that question. Never mind. My brain is a little bit still fritzed from the holidays after all of the travel and whatnot.
Did you have to do a lot of traveling?
Yeah. I was flying out to Colorado, which takes a while because I got stuck in Chicago. Woohoo! And then flying back is always fun. But I've become annoyingly familiar with the Chicago airport.
I used to live in South Bend area, and so I know O'Hare and Midway. And I know that in my experience in the past, O'Hare was awful to work with. But then also usually where most of the things went out of. So
yeah. So what does an average writing day look like for you? I mean, you said you write whenever you can, but do you have like a schedule, or is it just I have 5 minutes and everything's quiet?
Yeah, literally I have 5 minutes and everything's quiet. So like I said, I work at a bar and I generally do closing shifts. And so so my day pretty much consists of this. My daughter usually wakes up by anywhere from 7 to 9 a.m. Usually more on the earlier side there. And so I'll get up with her, and if I am not working on the house that day, I'll be home with her, and then I spend time with her. I take care of the house best I can, and if I'm not too busy while she takes a nap, I'll get some typing done then, at the most, usually an hour. And then she wakes back up, go back to doing things with her. She's 2, so I mean, when she's up, not able to do much else. You're really maintaining her. And then I go to work, usually drop her with a family member or something because we have an hour drive to where we're working right now.
Oh, wow.
And so we'll drop her with grandma or her aunt or another different grandma or someone else. And she'll stay there for a couple hours until my wife gets her. From when she's back from work, we usually pass each other on the highway going back and forth. She works days and she's works in surgery. So she works kind of like a 9 to 5 style job. I'll get to work and I'll get home anywhere from like 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. depending. The bar closes at 1 a.m. and it takes a minimum of an hour to get home. If it's a slow night and we can get all of our stuff done and walk out when the bar closes, then I'm home at 2. If it's a really crazy night and we're here scrubbing for hours and hours, I'll get home closer to 5.
Yeah.
And so if I find some time in that time when I get home, I will. I tend to be typing when everyone else in the house is asleep and I've just gotten home from work. I usually put in an hour or 2 there. But that's about it right now. Until the house kind of settles, until we are sort of done with that and I have my days more open and more regular, I don't have a routine anymore. Now, when we have the house settled, we'll be living significantly closer, so we'll be looking at like a 15-minute drive versus an hour.
Right.
We won't have crazy weather in between us. So right now I'm leaving an hour and a half, and depending on how bad the day is, 2 hours early to work because snow makes it that difficult sometimes.
Yeah.
So we won't have that. So we'll be gaining time on commute. Even if I'll have my daughter during the day still, it won't matter as much because we'll be more caught up with the housework that needs to get done since we'll be home more and we won't have the house inside. So that stuff will take me significantly less time. And so I will find a lot more time during her napping, or if I just want to drop her with grandma for a little bit, I can actually do something and still see her. Right now, I don't want to give up that time because I don't get it very often.
Right.
So it's just a mixture of being spread real thin between a lot of different projects. But yeah, realistically though, most of my typing happens after work in the wee hours of like anywhere from 2 to 7 a.m. And then I go to bed, wake up, and I do it all over again.
Okay, then. That's probably why you have such an impressive outline, then.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time thinking about where the story's going to go, and sadly not enough time writing it. So there's a lot of plotting in there, for sure.
I understand that one. I mean, most of us probably spend more time thinking than writing, so it's a thing. Right.
Definitely a necessary process to how it goes, but I'd love to get to the point where I was putting down 5,000 words a day. I would love that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, golly. Yeah, I'm not there yet either, so no worries. No worries. All right, so you were describing your worlds as interconnected. Is there an Easter egg that we should look out for in your series that you can tell us without giving the story away?
Yes. I've got one character who it seems pretty obvious right away that he is able to kind of travel through dimensions. And I've made that ability somewhat rare. So I don't have a lot of people that can go back and forth to places. In fact, my main character, his main drive once he gets on this world is to get back home to his wife and child. Back on Earth. And of course, my main character for my first book is going to be based on Earth because it's the easiest thing for me to write to, is what I can relate to.
Sure.
But yeah, that's his main drive, is to get back home. And so he's going to end up partnering with this character who can, get him there once he learns how to do it. So this is someone that can go to all these different some points. Whether he's going there for good or bad reasons remains to be seen. But I also have another character who hasn't been introduced yet, who will play a key role in sort of the interactions between the worlds towards the end when we kind of meet our climax. And so it'll be a character that you may meet in other side stories in other worlds, and you may not even know it's the same person. They'll have a different name, they'll look different, but it is all person. And I will tell you, she is based on Alice from Alice in Wonderland. So she's kind of got that sort of mythology going with her. Not mythology, whatever you want to call that.
I guess it sort of is mythology at this point.
Do you think so? Yeah.
I think Alice in Wonderland has probably reached that point in the literary world.
Sure. Okay. Then yeah. So essentially, she's based on that character, and her name, when you meet her for who she really is a play on Alice. And some people who've read some of my stuff up to this point have caught it, but I would say 95% of people who have read it have not caught it.
Uh-huh.
And so it's kind of exciting to see people. Some people are like, "Oh, where are you going with that?" And other people have no idea. That's kind of fun.
I love those things. They're just like the little details. They matter. They're great fun. All right. Well, do you have anything else you'd like to add, writing related or otherwise?
Right now, I would say I don't really have anything else to add as far as like questions or wonders or anything. But I will say that for anyone who watches this and does check out my book, and if you're not sure if you'll like my book too, there are chapters available. If you visit my Facebook page for the Arenia Codex, there is a snippet. You can read like the first 7 chapters. So I've got a link for that. So you can see if it's actually what you want to write to. And what I really want is like just truly honest feedback, like good or bad, whatever it is, just give it to me. I need it. It's going to help me, and it's only going to help me grow as a writer. Sure. Of course, I don't want a bunch of terrible reviews or anything, but good reviews would be helpful so I can use it to get into other things. Like if I want to do like a book barbarian, I need like a minimum of X amount of good reviews or something like that. So I'm trying to work towards doing some of those things as well. So really just feedback. I need people to read the book, and then once they read it, whether they like it or not, they need to tell me. I need people to tell me. I'm
really curious to read your book because I love intricate world building. It's just great fun, and it sounds fascinating. And I have no idea what's going to happen to your characters, but I imagine it's probably not going to be super salubrious. Just a thought.
Yeah, that's an accurate statement. Keep in mind too, I only subtly mentioned it, but my book takes place essentially in the afterlife. So you got to think every character that you meet of mine will have died at some point, and I would like to showcase most of those deaths.
Works for me.
But yeah, that's really what we've got. I mean, I can definitely send you info, and you can attach it to this interview, whatever you want to do. But
will do.
I just feedback. I want people to read the book, and I want them to tell me what they think, good or bad.
I think we can probably manage that. Alrighty. Well, I think this goes out. I've got a schedule here somewhere. On the 5th, is that acceptable, or do you want it to come out on a specific date? I usually do Mondays. All right, cool. Well, then this will come out on the 5th of January, which is in a week or so. And nope, hold on, the 6th, because the 5th is a Sunday. Yeah, this is my brain today. So it'll come out in video form. It'll also be podcast form. I will share it all over to the internet, social media places, and I'll send you the link as well. So if there's anything else you need from me, do let me know. I am happy to help in whatever way. When I read your book, I'll put the review out. I'll also do the Amazon Goodreads review, that sort of a thing. Is there anything else you could think of that you need or you need me to do?
No.
It was great talking with you.
You too. I really appreciate the opportunity. And perfect. Well, thanks so much. And we'll talk soon, right?
Yeah, have a fantastic day. Enjoy the snow.
I'll do that. Have a good New Year.
All right, cheers.